देख रहे हैं जेवी टीवी।
I request our honorable chairperson madam that kindly inaugurate the function by lightening the lamp. Madam Professor Vidushi Gargi, please.
सबसे पहले मैं सभी को नमस्कार करती हूँ और अपनी बच्चियों का स्वागत करती हूँ।
थैंक यू मैडम, धन्यवाद मैडम। Madam is worshipping to God say Saraswati. And you can recognize that Madam had just lightened the lamp and she has officially inaugurated this virtual conference. Another our guest is Professor Paul R. Prabhakar. You know, our all Professor Emeritus have joined this conference, and just I told you, Professor Shekhar V. Anam Bhotla is from USA. Professor Paul R. Prabhakar from Chicago.
Hello.
Please, sorry for interruption.
Hello, am I audible? I am Pankaj Mittal. Am I audible?
Yes. Now, it is a matter of pride that Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Madam, has joined us. Welcome, Madam, in this national conference.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
And we are delighted to see you. You know, this is a pride moment again to say that two women's administrators are here. One, our chairperson madam. Another is Dr. Pankaj Mittal madam. She is the Secretary General of Association of Indian Universities, and she is known for her dynamic leadership across the globe, for her academic contribution. We shall give her a detailed introduction before her presentation. So now, one by one, I am requesting, I am giving brief introduction of everyone. Madam Dr. Pankaj Mittal here, who is from Association of Indian University by the capacity of Secretary General. And again, I am recalling Professor Shekhar V. Anam Bhotla, Pittsburgh, USA, Professor Paul Prabhakar, Chicago, USA, Professor Manjeet Escom, KS, USA, Professor Manu K. Bora, Chicago, USA, our President, Professor R. Hayati Daya, she is from India, Professor Meenakshi Mathur, she is from India, Professor S.N. Upadhyay, he is former director, IIT BHU, Professor S.M. Singh ji, he is from India, Professor Anil K. Agrawal from IIT BHU, and Professor O.P. Sharma ji from India, Professor Rajyavardhan Singh Rai ji, he is from India, Professor Virendra Goswami ji is from IIT Kharagpur, Professor Ashish Datta ji from CCH, India. Professor S.S. Sharma ji from India. Professor Ramesh Gautam ji from India. Professor R.K. Patni ji from India. And at the beginning of the session, as I told one of the Vice President, Professor P.K. Raghav, is also with us. So now, by the permission of Chair, I would like to give a very short description, biographical description of Dr. Madam Pankaj Mittal ji. So please let me allow to share the screen. And I would like to give the introduction of Professor Mittal. So I would like to request Dr. Pankaj Mittal Madam that kindly, as per our schedule, please deliver some e-words for our participants. Madam Dr. Pankaj Mittal ji, please.
A very good morning to you, and thanks for a very, very generous introduction. And thanks to Madam Rohit Bhaiya ji, the Vice Chancellor of Jyoti Vidyapeeth. And I do understand that you are doing a very, very good work. Sometime back, I saw that I was in a program on Kamdhenu Chair, where it was publicly announced that Jyoti Vidyapeeth will be establishing a Kamdhenu Chair. So you are doing very good work, and I have been in a women university, and I know how important it is to run a women university, and how important it is for the sort of women who are, women who are studying or women who are around in that particular, around the vicinity of that university. Because I do remember that when I was the Vice Chancellor of Bhagat Phool Singh Mahila Vishwavidyalaya in Kanpur. Kanpur is a village in Haryana, and because of that university, many of those girls who were staying in the nearby villages, they could get on to higher education. Otherwise, many of them could not have even entered the portals of a university. And you will be surprised to know that when you see the 2011 census data, the Haryana, is known for adverse sex ratio, but then the sex ratio for the Kanpur village was around 1,356 women per 1,000 men, totally reverse trend. And the women literacy rate was 10% higher than the national average and the state average. So this is the impact of a women university in the community, because I always say that universities are also meant for development of the society around the university, that we now call as university social responsibility, that it is the responsibility of the university that the community around the university develops because of that. So there is a connect between the community and the university. So that women university can do in a very, very big way by having sort of many, we had many add-on courses in which 50% was in the classroom and 50% was in the community, where our students used to help the village community, and at the same time they used to learn from them. It is not that it is only we who are the sort of sea of wisdom and they don't know anything. We have to learn a lot from them. So very, very my compliments to you for running a good women university very, very successfully, and my compliments to also all the students who are studying here, because they are not only learning the subject they are learning, they are also having the holistic development in terms of value education, in terms of personality development, in terms of character building. All this constitutes education. It is not only the subject-wise education. All this constitutes education, that every student is becoming a good citizen of the country, and that is what this university is doing. So my compliments to you. Now, coming to the topic of the conference, you're talking about sustaining the quality of higher education post-COVID. Now, in India, 2020 was a very, very important year. One, because of COVID, it was important for the whole world, but for India, it was more important because India is a diverse country. India is a large country. So, with regard to education, when we talk about, there's a lot of diversity, there's a lot of digital divide. So, therefore, it was important for India to sustain quality in this type of scenario. And second thing which happened was that in this very year, the national education policy came in the middle of the year. So both of them had a large impact on the higher education system of the country. Now we'll go one by one. First, we'll talk about the COVID, and then I'll talk about the NEP. Now, when this COVID stuck in March in India, all the universities, I mean March 22nd onwards, a lockdown was announced, and all the universities, colleges were closed, and all our students, all our teachers were forced to stay at home. In the beginning, everybody was not understanding what to do because our teachers were not used to online teaching. Our students were not used to online learning because the need never arose. We were mostly depending upon the face-to-face learning. So online learning was not a part of the daily routine. But slowly, I must compliment the teachers of India that they took upon themselves to train themselves for teaching online. But then there were many issues. First issue and the large issue, which is relating to, say, connectivity, is the infrastructure. Many of the universities did not have the infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I will mean infrastructure in terms of devices, infrastructure in terms of network, infrastructure in terms of bandwidth, enough bandwidth. And for students, also the infrastructure in terms of space, because when you have to do online teaching or online learning, you need a separate room for yourself. So that was also an issue for some of the students. So infrastructure was the basic issue, and I understand that most of the universities are now spending more on technology than the brick and mortar structure. Even the government has come out with special schemes in which they are spending on technology so that the infrastructure, digital infrastructure, can be created.
Good morning, everyone. Good evening for us. You're able to hear me?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm calling from Pennsylvania, USA. So it's almost 11:15 at midnight, almost crossing the midnight time. So thank you very much for inviting me and appointing me as an Professor Emeritus from the honorary position recently. So basically, I am an Ayurvedic doctor, BAMS and MD Ayurvedic medicine. More than 33 years practicing around the world. I'm a US citizen. Since 20 years, I'm living in the United States of America, in Pennsylvania. I traveled extensively in northern part of North America, Latin America, and Europe. I spent the majority time in European countries, traveled extensively 30 countries. So finally settled here in Pennsylvania. I have my practice, Ayurveda practice, more than 25,000 patients I have. And in addition to that, I'm also president of the Ayurvedic association called APNA, Association of Ayurvedic Professions of North America, APNA. Is a global organization from the 135 countries. More than 48,000 members are there in that organization. I'm also director of the Global Ayurveda Academy. Through that, we create a memorandum of understandings with the various universities and institutions in India around the globe. So with this brief introduction about myself, today, with the sustainability of the beginning of this new normal condition of the COVID situation, still we are in the continuation journey of the COVID. When we are going to end this COVID situation, we don't know. Second wave is coming. We need to be prepared for that. Healthcare crisis is coming. Maximum number of people are dying in the United States of America, advanced country, and next to that, India. So we need to look into that. There is a failure is there. The system is failure. It's not only modern medicine is failure, the whole system is failure. Education system is failure. We are unfit for this small virus, which is affecting the whole world. what we can do it. So in ancient textbooks, 5,000 years back, Charaka has mentioned Janapada Dhamsas, either with the water, air, or contaminations with fire. Anything can happen with the destroy the whole communities and world. So now we are seeing such calamities such as typhoons and earthquakes and volcanic dissolutions are happening. Now, how we can change it? First of all, we need to look into the climate change. So we need to educate the people to bring the good climatic changes as to bring it.
Just I'm calling Professor Paul Prabhakar. He's from Chicago, USA. He's IITian and he has done PhD also. He's a very vast knowledge in business aspect related knowledge. So I request Professor Paul that kindly please share your view in this virtual seminar on the topic sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post COVID-19. Professor
Okay.
Paul Prabhakar, please.
Thank you, Dean Long, and all the distinguished guests here. It's particularly heartwarming for me to see so many young students eagerly listening to different words of wisdom from a variety of people with different backgrounds. I've given a speech to a similar audience just a couple of weeks ago, so I already feel at home with your university. I'll keep my remarks very short because I know you have a long agenda. Sustainability post-COVID. Having been in the academia in Chicago for 30 years and being in the field of business, I just want to share a couple of different points, couple of them to organizations, universities, and a couple of them to young people, to students. Most of us look at this COVID situation as a morbid situation. Nobody wanted that. It happened to us. It's a bad thing. Like any other challenge in life, it's not the challenge itself, good or bad, that matters. What matters is how you come out of it. So while there is a lot of uncertainty, the only certainty that we have is when we do come out of it, some universities that are lesser known today will be instantly known post-COVID because they turned this into an opportunity. Some universities that are very well known today, believe me, will take a step back because they choose to be afraid of this situation and they shut down and don't do anything. Like anything else in life, when you have a challenge, you have two options. Either shut it all down, wait it out till the storm gets over, in which case, when the storm gets over, you will be in exactly the same place and some others would have gone past you. So my message is very, very simple. If you're a university or an organization, the impact of COVID, while technology is important, and I hear a lot of speakers suggesting we need to accelerate electronic platforms to deliver content, let's never lose sight of the fact why we are all here. And I'm now speaking to faculty members and administrators. We are here because in this business, because we can mentor young lives. We do not want to hand over that role to a machine. Education is not business. We are not selling. If you're selling something that's called e-commerce, e-education is very different from e-commerce, because e-education essentially has a human side to it that can never be destroyed. So my general advice to universities, even when I'm speaking to universities here in the US about COVID, including my own university, is this is not a curse. It's not a bad storm. It's a life event. We can characterize it as a bad thing, but focus on the light that we will come out into after the fact. Use this as an opportunity. An opportunity for what? Certainly ramp up technologies. Any content that can be delivered or digitized should be done. But I will go further ahead and tell you what education, especially in India, what we need is even more of the human touch. What Western universities call soft skills. How do you learn to be a human being if you're a young 20-year-old woman? Learning content is easy. Learning to be a responsible member of society is hard because you don't read it from a textbook. You cannot memorize it. So education should never, ever forget that there is a human side to it that can never be digitized, can never be transmitted electronically. It only comes through osmosis, being around successful older professionals further along the pathway. So my advice to Jyoti Vidyapath and other universities is take this opportunity while the storm is hitting us to ramp up your human side, what I like to call the co-curricular side of your programming. So when we do come out of it, I would like to see a university that's not just more digital, but I'd like to see a university that's more human and can mentor young people. Let me spend a couple of minutes talking to the young students here. Many of you probably have been told through media and through family, friends, television, etc., that all these bad things are happening because of COVID. Certainly, bad things are happening, but let's start with the knowledge that nobody here is responsible for this. Okay, it is a life event that has happened. So if you're a young person, how should you respond to something like this? Well, I'm going to tell you something very similar to what I tell organizations in Chicago. This is a challenge, but the flip side of a challenge is it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity because the COVID kind of resets the table, rewrites the rules of competition. And if the COVID were to disappear 1 year from now, you should be responsible for answering the question, what did you as a young person do during that 1 year's time to invest in yourself? Did you take the easy way out? Or did you use this opportunity and leverage it to your advantage? Well, all I can tell you is you have more time on your hands and you have resources that people like me never had at your age.
Good morning, all of you. And may I request everybody to go on a mute?
Good morning, sir.
Please, everybody go on a mute. Thank you very much. Greetings from Chicago. It's approaching 10:42 Chicago time. And good morning to all of you And greetings to all the distinguished guests and students who have joined. Now, the topic I'm going to share with you, I'm still hearing the disturbance. Please help go on a mute so we can have the presentation. Thank you. So my topic is basically sustainability of quality in higher education through soft skills. So allow me to share the presentation.
Yeah, mobile.
Can we have everybody on a mute, please? Thank you. Very briefly, I'll work through the presentation. Please stay on a mute. Thank you. I will begin with a few quotes on education, and then I want to bring up what's the state of education is in India versus the Western world. We can learn from what is required from the graduates from the World Economic Forum. Want to touch upon the national education policy, which Dr. Pankaj Mittal mentioned. And then as a part of the AICTE NEP implementation plan committee, I want to give some highlights and then share with you learner engagement model applied to all the students and faculty excellence model for fellow faculties at Jyoti Vidyapith. And best of all, importance of soft skill, which Professor Paul Prabhakar alluded to. I'll expand on that area. So, few simple quotes. Will Durant tells us that the education is a progressive discovery of our own ignorance.
Now we have Professor Manjeet Skong, AS USA, and he has joined us. He is basically from agriculture background, and we are keen to listen him on sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post COVID-19. So Professor Manjeet, welcome in this virtual seminar, and we hope that it's also late night for you, but
Thank you, Dr. Lal. Actually, I'm sitting in Ludhiana, Punjab.
Okay.
So
you are in India. Thank you very much.
Yes, I have never left India.
Okay.
Yeah. My term as Vice Chancellor of Punjab Agriculture University was from 2007 to 2011. So my wife is working at the Christian Medical College in Ludhiana, and she's a cancer researcher, and now she's testing the COVID-19 people. So basically, I'm a geneticist. So it goes beyond agriculture. It applies to human beings, animals, everything. So that's my background. The challenges that COVID-19 has created for higher education, we are living in a time when nothing seems normal. So the short-term impacts of COVID-19 on higher education would be on human capital. For example, we're not getting enough students. A lot of students are even going to Canada. And with that, and on top of that, COVID-19 has complicated things. So declining college enrollments would be the #1 issue, in my view. Then there's financial capital. So beside human capital, there's the financial capital. Universities have been closed for a long time, and they are not able to, colleges have been closed for a long time, and they're not able to collect any money. And so that is how to grow revenues would be a main issue. Then we have physical capital. That is infrastructure. We have created buildings and first-class buildings. Hello? Something is
Please
happening.
continue.
Okay.
Yeah, continue, please.
Okay, there was some interruption. So infrastructure is basically pre-COVID. So we have first-class infrastructure, but it is not being utilized now properly. So that would be another issue. Can we continue to use the infrastructure we have created? And in the short run, when we don't have students, obviously we are not utilizing it properly. Maybe after COVID-19 subsides and there is a cure, vaccine, etc. Vaccine itself is not going to do any good unless people take the vaccine. So the last capital would be the reputational capital. Every institution has a reputation. So how good it is determines whether we will attract students. So brand name is very important. For example, PAU Ludhiana is a brand name. So a lot of people are coming. PAU Ludhiana is not going to have any problem, whether there's COVID-19 or anything else. But there are so many private universities that are open around Ludhiana and in Punjab. So they're not getting enough students to begin with. So now they're all shut down, and they are scrambling for how to maintain their buildings, how to maintain their infrastructure, and how to attract students. So these are some of the big issues that the COVID-19 has created. And what can be done? So the outlook, what we can expect. There may be mergers of institutions. And I have seen articles written by our scientists here that in one little city in Mandi Govindgarh, that is the iron capital of India. So there are 2 universities there. And so are they really needed? So there may be some merger of institutions. That is likely. Non-essential programs might get the axe. So can all programs survive? No. Non-essential program will have to go. So you have to select which one would be viable. And then there may be, people may not want to go for a 4-year degree or college degree. They may opt for certificate or short-term diplomas, 2-year programs. So these may happen. Then because we are in a system where a lot of classes are being held in some institutions remotely, online. So this might become a permanent feature. At least it may become part of the delivery system of education. So sustained adoption of remote and hybrid classes, that could be a low cost or lower cost model.
Sir, R.S. Daya has joined us. We welcome you, madam. And now I request you that please express your rewards in this virtual conference that is going on today on the topic sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post COVID-19. Our President, Madam Hayati Daya.
Namaskar, a very warm good morning, Honorable Chairperson Ma'am, Honorable Founder and Advisor Sir, all Honorable Professor Emeritus of the University, respected speakers, eminent speakers and experts of today's conference, all the organizers, Professor Lal, Pro-Vice Chancellor Dr. Raghav, and all dear students and JVNs. You have already been welcomed to the conference, but I welcome you all again on this great morning. And it is a matter of pride for all of us to have such an amazing national conference due to highest and efforts of our Honorable Founder Advisor Sir and Honorable Chairperson Ma'am, that this type of conferences of the national importance are taking place at various platforms. And today in this platform, we have a number of expertise. And we also welcome General Secretary of AIU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal Ma'am. If you are with us till now, I welcome you and I thank you for being with us. And it's really a pleasure to be associated with AIU for this national conference and enlightening our students regarding the sustainability of higher education and normal new post COVID-19. As your Professor Lal was giving a brief introduction of the university has been established with the vision and the mission of bringing women empowerment to the local community and also upliftment of the women, and with the main aim of community development. And the university was also established in the rural areas of Rajasthan, being the first state private university to bring empowerment to the rural girls and women of the area. And now it's not of the area, but it is all at national and international level. So with as Professor Lal was mentioning, we have many feathers in our cap of our esteemed university by having 12B ranking of UGC status, which recently has been backed by the university amongst 316 universities in India. And also we have been NAC accredited in 2018 with B plus grade, which is again a very important event for our university. We have been accredited for Swachh Bharat mission, and also we have a project of under the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan by adopting 5 important villages nearby the vicinity of the university for empowering the villages and also for community development, may it be in the education, health sector, agriculture, etc. We have many awards which has been given to the university with the vision and with the idealistic ideas of our Honorable Chairperson Ma'am and Honorable Founder Advisor Sir for our research purposes, for our projects which we handle, and all we have a number of patents we have already been registered by the various government agencies of India. The number of patents and the research areas which we do in our university is of utmost importance, and this kind of research is towards the innovative research with the traditional, considering the traditional medicines and the traditional research which has been taking place in India. Joining this, linking these researchers with the modern researchers, particularly in the field of medicines, Ayurveda, homeopathy, agriculture, we can achieve a number of great research and results in this field. As far as our higher education is concerned,
Professor Emeritus Professor Madam Meenakshi Mathurji.
Namaskar. Namaste, sir.
Yeah, namaskar.
As this is your trend of Jyoti Vidyapeeth, I am also doing namaste to all because I am now a partner or a member of this university. So I am following the trend. Namaste to all my respected Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Vidushi Garg, Chairperson, Professor Hayati Daya, President, Professor Raghav, Co-President, Professor Kamlesh K. Sharma, Co-President, and Professor Lal. And thankful to you all for inviting me. Am I audible normal? Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. So, as you are repeatedly saying, as I have to talk on sustainability of education and new normal. About new normal, I will say nothing is normal, sir, yet. It has to go a long way to become normal.
In academics, and I hope that his experiential talk on this topic is going to boost the knowledge of all the participants. So our Pro-President, Professor Kamlesh K. Sharma, is here with his words. Sir, please.
यज्जाग्रतो दूरमुदयति दूरं तदुस्तुप्तस्य तथैवेति दूरंगमं ज्योतिषां ज्योतिरेकं तन्मे मनः शिव संकल्पमस्तु। धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर लाल। आज इस ज्योति विद्यापीठ की ओर से आयोजित अंतरराष्ट्रीय कॉन्क्लेव कहूंगा मैं, एक ऐसे अछूते विषय को, एक ऐसे नए विषय को लेकर के अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर के एजुकेशनिस्ट, टेक्नोक्रेट्स, मैं सुनाई दे रहा हूं ना प्रोफेसर लाल?
Yes, yes, we are able to hear sir. आप बोलिए। बिल्कुल, very well. We are able to. You are very audible. अच्छी सुनाई दे रहा है। Thank you.
धन्यवाद। संसार भर के अच्छे एजुकेशनिस्ट, टेक्नोक्रेट्स, एजुकेशनल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स, इनको एक गुलदस्ते के रूप में सजा करके आज ज्योति विद्यापीठ ने जो एक इनिशिएशन लिया है, एक ऐसे समसामयिक विषय पर जो सारे संसार के चिंतन का योग्य विषय है, उच्च शिक्षा में गुणवत्ता की निरंतरता और पोस्ट कोविड न्यू नॉर्मल। मेरा मानना है कि जिसे हम न्यू नॉर्मल कह रहे हैं, वाकई ये न्यू एबनॉर्मल है। शायद इसकी कल्पना हमने नहीं की होगी कभी कि ये जो एकदम असामान्य स्थिति है इसको हमको नॉर्मल कहना पड़ेगा। तो इस सारी स्थिति में भी परिस्थितियां जब बनती हैं तो उनके परिष्कार भी होते हैं, उनका समाधान भी निकलता है। शिक्षण की पद्धति की हमारी एक बड़ी गौरवशाली परंपरा रही है। उपनिषद काल से ही गुरु शिष्य आपस में बैठ करके संवाद करके, विषयों का प्रात्यक्षिक करके, फिर एजुकेशन का डिलीवरी सिस्टम था और लंबे समय तक, यानी हजारों साल तक ये सिस्टम हमारे यहाँ चलता रहा। शायद उस काल में इस प्रकार की कोई विषम परिस्थिति नहीं रही होगी। यदि आई भी होती तो उसका कुछ न कुछ समाधान हमारे एंसेस्टर्स ने जरूर किया ही होता। आज मैं प्रारंभ से सुन रहा हूँ, डॉक्टर शेखर ने जब अपना वक्तव्य रखा तो उन्होंने कहा कि अपने पर्सनल हेल्थ और हाइजीन पर हमें कैसे फोकस करना चाहिए, ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण विषय है। डॉक्टर पॉल प्रभाकर ने बहुत अच्छी बात कही कि ई डिजिटल जरूर हो, लेकिन ई ह्यूमन भी हमको जरूर होना चाहिए, इस पर फोकस करने की जरूरत है। बहुत गहरा अध्ययन प्रोफेसर मनु बोरा का उन्होंने शेयर किया, सजा कि हमारे साथ कंग साहब ने भी बातें रखी, प्रोफेसर मीनाक्षी मैडम ने भी कुछ कहा और बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से प्रोफेसर अनिल अग्रवाल जी ने हमारे सामने इस विषय को रखा है। खासतौर से प्रोफेशनल टीचिंग के संदर्भ में जब हम बात करेंगे तो ये बातें ध्यान में आती हैं कि जो नए प्रश्न हमारे सामने उठकर आ रहे हैं, ऐसी स्थिति में एक टीचर होने के नाते मेरा अपना एक एक्सपीरियंस है कि क्लासरूम टीचिंग का कोई विकल्प नहीं हो सकता, लेकिन परिस्थितिवश क्लासरूम टीचिंग के स्थान पर जब हमको वर्चुअल क्लास लेनी पड़ती है, मैं खुद ये महसूस करता हूँ कि जब तक किसी टीचर का स्टूडेंट्स के साथ आई कांटेक्ट नहीं होता है, तब तक मैं जो कुछ बता रहा हूँ, मैं कुछ शेयर कर रहा हूँ, वो ग्रेस्प कर भी रहा है या नहीं कर रहा है, इसका रेस्पॉन्स मुझे जब तक नहीं मिलता है, तब तक एक टीचर के नाते मुझे सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं मिलता है। तो आज जैसी स्थिति है, इस स्थिति में वर्चुअल क्लासेस शुरू हुई हैं, उच्च शिक्षा में भी बहुत से नवनूतन प्रयोग हो रहे हैं, पर जब हम प्रोफेशनल टीचिंग की बात करते हैं, खासतौर से आयुर्वेद की टीचिंग की जब बात करते हैं, तो जो एकदम अप्लाइड साइंस है, एकदम व्यावहारिक शास्त्र है, उसमें किस प्रकार की कठिनाइयां आज के इस पोस्ट कोविड दौर में आ सकती हैं। तो ये ध्यान में आता है कि किसी रोगी की परीक्षा करने के लिए हमारे आचार्यों ने 3 साधन बनाए: दर्शन, स्पर्शन और प्रश्न। किसी रोगी का अगर परीक्षा करनी है ठीक प्रकार से, तो सबसे पहले उसको उसका ठीक प्रकार से दर्शन करना पड़ेगा, उसको देखना पड़ेगा, उसका देख कर उसके त्वचा कैसी है, उसका लस्टर कैसा है, उनकी आंखें कैसी है, उसका एब्डोमेन कैसा है। दूसरा आता है स्पर्शन, देखने के बाद स्पर्श, उसको स्पर्श करके पल्पिटेशन करना है। तीसरा आता है क्वेश्चन। तो तीनों की तीनों बातें पेशेंट को सामने रखकर स्टूडेंट्स के सामने जब रोगी की परीक्षा करते हैं तो हम किसी रोग विनिश्चय पर पहुंच पाते हैं और तब उसके बाद उसकी ट्रीटमेंट शुरू होता है। आज इस स्थिति में एक प्रश्न खड़ा हुआ है। इसी प्रकार से जब हम किसी ड्रग को स्टूडेंट्स के साथ आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए कहते हैं तो हमारा एक सिद्धांत है हफ्ता मलक वत, यानी किसी चीज को एकदम क्लियर करना हो तो क्लियर करने के लिए उस चीज को हाथ में रखना जरूरी है। कहते हैं कि जैसे हाथ में रखे हुए आंवले को हम भली प्रकार से जांच सकते हैं, देख सकते हैं, इस प्रकार का इस वर्चुअल टीचिंग में होना बहुत कठिन हो गया है। तो ऐसे में जो एक प्रत्यक्ष क्लास कैसे होनी चाहिए, ये खासतौर से प्रोफेशनल टीचिंग के लिए मैंने कुछ उदाहरण दिए हैं। लेकिन अब इस नए सिनेरियो में, नए सीन में, कोविड के साथ भी और कोविड के बाद भी, एक LIC का स्लोगन है, जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी। ऐसे ही अब हमको सोचना पड़ेगा कोरोना कब तक रहेगा। इंग्लैंड से कुछ बुरी बुरी खबरें और आने लगी हैं। ऐसी स्थिति में हम एक कल्पना नहीं कर सकते कि आने वाले महीने, 2 महीने, 4 महीने, 6 महीने, प्रभु करे बहुत जल्दी सिमट जाए, लेकिन तैयारी रखनी चाहिए। साल 2 साल भी चले तो हमको सारे सिस्टम को उसके अनुरूप करना पड़ेगा। शुरू में मैं सुन रहा था, पवन मैडम बता रही थी कि हायर एजुकेशन में आज इन बदली हुई परिस्थितियों में हमारे देश के जो रिसोर्सेज हैं, उन रिसोर्सेज में हम कहाँ लैकिंग कर रहे हैं। संजोग से, सौभाग्य से ज्योति विद्यापीठ ने अपने संसाधनों में जो एक इजाफा किया है और अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर का एक जो कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग की है, चाहे वो ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज की दृष्टि से भी या फिर फिजिकल रिसोर्सेज की दृष्टि से भी, मैं निश्चित रूप से इसके लिए बहुत प्रशंसा करूंगा। लेकिन ये चुनौती केवल एक संस्थान के लिए नहीं है, ये चुनौती सबसे बड़ी ये भी है कि आज संसार भर में क्या हो रहा है, इन सबको देखने की जरूरत ही है। पर हमारे सराउंडिंग्स में क्या आवश्यकताएं, हमारे सराउंडिंग्स के क्या प्रश्न हैं, उनको भी एड्रेस करने की आज आवश्यकता है। तो एक कोटेशन आता है कि थिंक ग्लोबली बट एक्ट लोकली। आज संसार भर में क्या हो रहा है, शिकागो में क्या हो रहा है, कैलिफोर्निया में क्या हो रहा है, सब क्या चल रहा है, इन सब बातों की जानकारी हमें तुरंत पहुंचती है। लेकिन ज्योति विद्यापीठ के पास में, महिला में, कि बोराज में, कि झरना में क्या हो जाता है, इसकी इंफॉर्मेशन भी हमें इमीडिएट होनी चाहिए। तभी हम शायद इस बात को सार्थक कर पाएंगे कि एक्ट लोकली, कि हम लोकल हमारी जो समस्याएं किस प्रकार की हैं, उन पर भी फोकस करने की आज आने वाली हायर एजुकेशन की चुनौतियां, खासतौर से प्रोफेशनल एजुकेशन की इस प्रकार की चुनौतियां, जिनको एड्रेस करने की आवश्यकता है। बहुत से प्रश्न जो पहले भी थे, परंतु बदले हुए स्वरूप में आज उनकी आवश्यकता है। स्थानीय क्षेत्र में साक्षरता, खासतौर से कन्या और महिला शिक्षा की क्या स्थिति है, उसको एड्रेस करने की आज मुझे आवश्यकता लगती है। स्वास्थ्य, स्वच्छता और इसके प्रति जागरूकता किस प्रकार की आ रही है, क्योंकि एक बात यहाँ अंडरलाइन कर देना मुझे ठीक लगता है कि जिस प्रकार के चिकित्सात्मक संसाधन हमारे देश के हैं, उन सब के उपरांत भी इस कोविड का दुष्प्रभाव सारे संसार के समृद्धतम देशों की अपेक्षा मेरे देश में कम हुआ है। तो इसका कारण ये नहीं है कि हमारे पास कोई चिकित्सा सुविधा बहुत सुदृढ़ थी, आर्थिक दृष्टि से हम बहुत कोई संपन्न रहे हैं, लेकिन ये तय बात है कि हमारा जीनोमिक किस प्रकार का था। वर्षों से हमारी पीढ़ियों ने जिस प्रकार का खान पान, रहन सहन अपनाए रखा है, उस कारण से जिस प्रकार की जेनेटिक स्ट्रक्चर हमारी पीढ़ी को प्राप्त हुई है, वह एक सबसे बड़ा कारण रहा है कि हम इस कोविड के काल में भी हम अपने मानव समूह को बचा पाए। तो ऐसे में जो कुछ परंपरा से संस्कार हमको प्राप्त हुआ है, अगली पीढ़ी में भी उस संस्कार को यथावत दिए जाने की आज आवश्यकता लगती है। और इसके लिए डॉक्टर शेखर ने जिन बातों का उल्लेख किया, उन बातों को आज एजुकेशन से समानांतर विषय है ये, लेकिन उसके बिना ये एजुकेशन भी अपूर्ण है। इसलिए एन इंडिविजुअल, किसी व्यक्ति विशेष का स्वास्थ्य किस प्रकार से हम इस प्रकार का बनाए रखें, जैसा पूर्वजों ने हमें जेनोमिक्स हमें दिया है, जेनेटिक स्ट्रक्चर हमको दिया है, उसका परिणाम ये रहा है कि आज इस इतनी विषम परिस्थिति के बावजूद भी, इतना अधिक जनसंख्या घनत्व होने के बावजूद भी, चिकित्सा सुविधाओं की न्यूनता होने के बावजूद भी, उच्च स्तरीय चिकित्सा सुविधाएं न होने के बावजूद भी, जहां अमेरिका में प्रति 10,06,72 मौत हुई है, अपने देश में प्रति 10 लाख केवल 70 या 72 मौत हुई है। ये जो एक जेनेटिक स्ट्रक्चर हमको मिला है, ऐसे के ऐसे स्ट्रक्चर को हम आगे वाली पीढ़ियों को भी दे सकें, इसके लिए हमें आयुर्वेद का जो बताया हुआ एक दिनचर्या, ऋतुचर्या, रात्रिचर्या, सद्व्रत इत्यादि का पालन करते हुए, और इसको इस एजुकेशन के सिस्टम में यदि हम शामिल कर पाएंगे, तो संस्कार से जो दादी नानी के संस्कार के माध्यम से घर की रसोई में विद्यमान रहता था, वो किसी कारण से लुप्त हो गया। तो आज फॉर्मल एजुकेशन में भी इन सब चीजों को शामिल करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी, ताकि हम आने वाले वर्षों में आने वाली पीढ़ियों को भी इस प्रकार से किसी कोविड-19 नहीं, लेकिन कोविड-49 आता है, कोविड-99 भी यदि आता है, उससे बचने की तैयारी हम अपने देश की, अपनी मानवता की, सारे संसार के लोगों के लिए करने की आवश्यकता लगती है। तो अब इस सारे सीन में कुछ इंटीग्रेटिव अप्रोच की भी आवश्यकता मुझे लगती है, जो शायद ज्योति विद्यापीठ इस नाते सक्षम भी है। जैसे मेरा मानना है कि आज आयुर्वेद की सबसे बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ है डाइट, आहार, जो जीवन के लिए 3 महत्वपूर्ण है, आहार, निद्रा और ब्रह्मचर्य। उनमें जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है आहार, इस आहार के साथ साथ आज बदलते हुए परिवेश में भी फूड टेक्नोलॉजी का सहारा लेकर के आहार की गुणवत्ता को कैसे हम बरकरार रखें, आहार की गुणवत्ता को हम कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं, ये इस प्रकार के हायर एजुकेशन के कोर्सेज, कुछ इंटीग्रेटेड कोर्सेज इस प्रकार को चलाए जाने की आवश्यकता है। आज संसार भर में जिस प्रकार की कोविड से बचने के लिए जो इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर के नाते भारतीय मसालों का जो उपयोग होने लगा है, आपको जानकर सुखद आश्चर्य भी होगा कि फरवरी से लेकर के नवंबर में 3.5 गुना एक्सपोर्ट आयुर्वेदिक मसालों का, आयुर्वेदिक मेडिसिन का होने लगा है। ऐसी स्थिति में जो रिसोर्सेज है, मेन कच्ची औषधियां, इनकी उपलब्धता निश्चित रूप से कम होने वाली है। नेचुरली, प्राकृतिक रूप से जिन वनौषधियों का उत्पादन अपने देश में होता था, वो लगभग कम होते जा रहा है, ग्रेजुअली धीरे धीरे कम होता जा रहा है। तो इस प्रकार की जो एंडेंजर्ड स्पीसीज हैं, जो एकदम अभाव के स्तर पर पहुंच रही है, उनकी सुरक्षा करने के लिए आयुर्वेदिक द्रव्य गुण, उनकी मेडिसिनल वैल्यूज एज वेल एज इकोनॉमिकल वैल्यूज, उसको ध्यान रखते हुए, एग्रीकल्चर साइंस का साथ लेते हुए, इस प्रकार की वनौषधियों को किस प्रकार से हम ग्रो करें, कैसे उनका संरक्षण करें, कैसे उनका प्रोक्योरमेंट करें, ऐसे कुछ नए विषय भी हायर एजुकेशन के लिए हमें चलाए जाने की आवश्यकता है। इसी प्रकार जो आयुर्वेदिक फार्माकोपिया है, आयुर्वेदिक फार्माकोपिया को मॉडर्न फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री के साथ टाइप करते हुए हम कैसे इनमें कुछ नए नवाचार करते हुए आज की संसार की जरूरतों को पूरा करने के लिए आगे आ सकते हैं। आयुर्वेदिक पंचकर्म एक ऐसी विधा है जो एक बायोलॉजिकल प्यूरिफिकेशन का तो साधन है ही है, परंतु थेरेप्यूटिकली भी इसकी बहुत बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंस है। और खास तौर से पंचकर्म के साथ साथ फिजियोथेरेपी जैसे विषयों को जोड़ते हुए, एक इंटीग्रेट अप्रोच लेते हुए, जो डिसेबिलिटी आ रही होती है उससे बचाव के लिए इस प्रकार के उदाहरण के लिए मैंने आप लोगों के सामने कुछ रखे हैं। लेकिन उच्च शिक्षा की गुणवत्ता की निरंतरता बनाए रखने के लिए जो कुछ सूत्र हमारे यहाँ दिए गए हैं, उपनिषद में कहता है कि आनो भद्रा कृतवो यंतु विश्वतः, सारे संसार से जो भी कुछ कल्याणकारी बातें हैं, जो कोई अच्छी बातें हैं, उनको हम स्वीकार करें। और लेने के बाद ये एक दृष्टि जो बन गई हमारे एक कॉलोनियल विचार के कारण कि पश्चिम में जो कुछ है वही सब कुछ श्रेष्ठ है, हमारे यहाँ जो कुछ है सब बेकार है, इस धारणा को आज बदलने की जरूरत है कि जो कुछ हमारे यहाँ है उसको युगानुरूप करने की आज आवश्यकता है, और जो कुछ बाहर अच्छा है उसको स्वदेशानुकूल करने की आवश्यकता है। तो युगानुकूल करना अपनी बातों को, स्वदेशानुकूल करना पश्चिम की बातों को, और इस प्रकार से हम जोड़ते हुए आज जिस प्रकार की चुनौती सारे संसार के सामने आई हुई है, उस चुनौती का समाधान करने की दिशा में ज्योति विद्यापीठ ने जो पहल की है, मुझे लगता है कि छोटा सा कदम है, परंतु इस दिशा में बढ़ने के लिए हमारा ये सब आज की जो परिचर्चा है एक पाथवे का काम करेगी। इसमें से बहुत सी बातें निकल कर आएंगी, संसार भर में इसकी चर्चा होगी। जहां जहां पर ये विषय जाएगा, जो श्रोता लोग, जो दृष्टा लोग आज इससे जुड़े हुए, सबके मन में एक प्रश्नोपनिषद उठेगा कि हाँ, इस सिचुएशन में, इस परिस्थिति में किस प्रकार से हमारी उच्च शिक्षा की गुणवत्ता, इसकी निरंतरता को हम बनाए रख सकें। सस्टेनेबिलिटी तात्कालिक उपाय से काम नहीं चलने वाला है। हाँ, हो सकता है कुछ तात्कालिक परिस्थिति के लिए कुछ तात्कालिक उपाय भी करने पड़े, परंतु कुछ इस प्रकार के उपाय भी करने पड़ेंगे जिनका परिणाम दूरगामी भी हो। इस प्रकार दोनों स्तरों पर, कुछ तात्कालिक भी, कुछ दूरगामी भी, ऐसे इन समस्याओं को एड्रेस करते हुए इनके समाधान निकालने पड़ेंगे, जिसकी शुरुआत यहाँ से प्रारंभ हुई है।
So, Professor Goswami, I request you that kindly come on the co-centric discussion that is based on experiential integrated talk, and let us start your delivery on the topic sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal COVID-19. Yeah, Professor Goswami sir, please.
Good morning, namaste to all of you. I am very thankful to the professor for having spoken so kind word about me. First and foremost, I feel honored that I have been appointed with this great university and a unique university of our country, that is Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, as a professor emeritus. It's a great pleasure for me because though I was a professor emeritus earlier, but to have the emotional pleasure to become professor emeritus, and that too with the Faculty of Education and Methodology, I tell you from my core of heart that I am really honored and touched, because first and foremost, I am a son of a school teacher. Not only that, I started my education career right from Montessori school and went up to the university level at home and abroad. God is very kind. As Professor introduced to me, I have my doctorate from IIT Kharagpur in chemical technology, and then I got the postdoctoral fellowship from University of Illinois, Chicago. I had a passion for space science. So I went into the space science and I worked in the Space Science Engineering Center and one of the NASA laboratory. And for that, I had to do Master's in Space Science and Atmospheric Sciences from University of Wisconsin after my postdoctoral work. So that was a great learning. And in between, I had one passion. I know this session is interacting with the students. So I'm not telling my biodata or CV to them. Idea is I come back to why am I telling this thing?
So, Professor Upadhyay sir, I request you that kindly please express your opinion, your experiential integrated talk on, as we are terming this in the language of science and technology.
Thank you, sir. At the outset, I would like to apologize for being late in joining because of some problem. These gadgets, the computer, the mobiles, the projectors are an asset and also a curse. When they fail, one is at a loss to decide what to do. And therefore, someone has said that दर्द सिर के वास्ते चंदन लगाना है मुफीद, पर उसको घिसना फिर लगाना ये भी दर्द सर ही तो है. So I was struggling with my computer system. I couldn't connect. I had to rush from my home to my department where the technicians gave me another computer and I could get connected with you. I'm thankful to all of you for inviting me to be a part of this seminar, which is on sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal after COVID. COVID has taught us many things. It has taught us making masks, sanitizers, gloves to wear, and many other things for hospitals. It has also taught us, or forced us, rather I cannot say taught us, forced us to use mobiles for imparting education even at the school level. And because of COVID and because of this mode of education, the kids are the most affected. They have lost the charm of and the fun of being in school, struggling with each other, snatching the tiffin box of the batchmates, testing what their mother has packed in their lunchbox and sharing his own or her own lunchbox with their friends. They play various types of activities which they enjoy in the field that they have lost. But it has also taught us something. We cannot, Professor Goswami was right that we have to use a hybrid model. We cannot depend entirely on mobile and digital mode of education because many things cannot be taught through digital mode. I'll not take the example from science and technology and medicine. I'll take example from music. listening to the recital of Sitar by Pandit Ravi Shankar any number of times, or listening and watching the playing of tabla by Zakir Hussain Khan will not make me a good sitarist or will not make me a good tabla player. Something else is required, which is not possible through digital mode of teaching. It is convenient mode of teaching for imparting something which takes too much time on the blackboard to write. But according to my opinion, my perception, the blackboard teaching will continue. And that is what Professor Goswami was emphasizing upon. It can never be done away with. Whatever mode we impart. For example, suppose somebody is teaching chemical engineering from MIT in a classroom, which students in my department are listening and watching. There is a question comes. In the classroom with a blackboard and chalk method of teaching, the student can stand up immediately ask. But by the time the question comes to his mind, he raises his hand or stands up, asks the question goes to MIT through net, and he gets the answer. Many seconds or very valuable time is lost, and in the meantime, professor must have also switched on to another slide. There is a problem in such subjects to digital mode, and therefore, we have to be very careful using online teaching, digital mode of teaching in post-corona period. And sooner we do away with this, it is good for us. It has also added to the digital divide. Those who are having smartphones, those who are capable of having SIMs for and smartphone sets for each of their kids, they are able to impart digital education to their kids and their wards through digital mode. But those who are not capable of acquiring smartphones for each of their sons and daughters and separate SIMs for connecting to the net, they're at a loss. The digital divide has increased in the corona period, and that should be done away with. As soon we do away with that, it's good for the country. Otherwise, the digital divide, which is already there between the rural and the urban Indian mass, is going to widen, and we have to be very careful with harping too much about the digital mode of education and using the online method of imparting education, whether it is by Indian professor or by American professor. There are certain attributes which, whether it is pre-COVID period or COVID period or post-COVID period, those attributes of education teacher cannot be done away with by us. Corona has provided us opportunities, so we have learned how to use digital code for imparting education, but it is just it cannot replace the teacher in flesh and blood, and that is what Professor Goswami was emphasizing upon. Eye-to-eye contact is very essential. आंखों ही आंखों में इशारा हो गया, बैठे बैठे जीने का सहारा हो गया, ये सिनेमा का गाना है. तो ये जब तक हमारी आंख बच्चे की आंख से नहीं मिलेगी, उसकी आंख टीचर की आंख से नहीं मिलेगी, तब तक ज्ञान का प्रवाह कैसे होगा हमारे मस्तिष्क से उसके मस्तिष्क में. Therefore, teacher cannot be done away with it. But teacher also has a role. And I'll come to those points in the emerging years. Teacher has to be more careful than what he or she has been pre-COVID period or during COVID period. The students are capable of accessing to knowledge through internet, through Wikipedia, to e-books which are already loaded on the internet, and on many occasions they may be acquiring incorrect knowledge. It's my own experience that on the internet, the lessons which we get or the information which we get, some lessons and some information has been posted by an 8-year-old child, and it is about engineering subject. You can very well imagine what kind of knowledge that 8-year-old child must be having about engineering knowledge, which somebody has posted in his or her name on the internet. So it's very careful. One has to be very careful in looking into the e-books, because they are not correct. One has to cross-check the information available on the net, and therefore books and the teachers are required, and they will be required in coming years as well. Guru has, according to our mythology and our ancestors, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma hai, Guru Vishnu hai, Guru Maheshwar hai, because of three reasons. As Brahma, Guru creates knowledge, and as Vishnu, that knowledge is propagated, expanded by the Guru. And if any incorrect knowledge comes to the mind of pupil, the student, the girl or boy, as Brahma, as Shiv or Maheshwar, he destroys that knowledge. So in that context, Guru is Brahma, Guru is Vishnu, Guru is Maheshwar, and this concept we must make clear to our students, and that is where culture is required. Knowledge of culture and our own religion to some extent is required. Otherwise, any amount of value education through English will not help a boy or a girl to become sensitive to environment, sensitive to his or her own country, city, family, etc. Because the knowledge of culture is required. Otherwise, it will be just a bookish knowledge written by somebody in English, and it will have no relation with what we practice, what our old culture is, and what we should do. Particularly more in the case of environmental issues, unless we know the culture fully. Why should we worship cow? Why should we worship revere and worship Ganga? Why should we worship a tree? All these are relative to environment and also to our religion. Therefore, religion and environment can go very well hand in hand. And many of our mythological stories which are there as a mythological story can be related directly to environment. The Samudra Manthan, churning of ocean. If you do anything massive of that scale and try to extract materials from earth, not Mahavish, but pollution will come out as Mahavish. And in Puranic era, it was assimilated by Lord Shiva, and he became Nilkant. In the modern era, the student, the engineer, the scientist, and all of us will have to become take the role of Lord Shiva and try to remove pollution, whether it is in air or water or land. And because Lord Shiva is now confined in a temple, the police guards are there. One cannot go inside in Banaras Shiva temple without search by the police person passing through the metal detector. Shiva also cannot come out easily out of his abode to help us, because unless he comes out with Damru and the trident, he cannot help us. Therefore, there are constraints, and we need to teach we need to relate these old stories to for culture and religion in the modern context, and try to educate students to know both religion and science, and then which is how the two can be connected, and how best we can make them understand the environment and Indian ethos which our ancestors have been practicing, and we are still practicing in a slightly modified form. Another factor which we should bear in mind and keep in mind is that teacher has to be a student lifelong. Unless we prepare for 6 hours, 7 hours at home, we cannot deliver efficiently and effectively in classroom a subject which we are supposed to teach. Therefore, to be a good teacher, one has to be a student lifelong, and there, in order to support this, many of us feel that after having got PhD and having got MTech degree or MSc degree and becoming a lecturer in the department in a university like mine university or your university with PhD degree, there is no need to look into the book. There is no need to do further study. But in order to support what I am trying to say, I would like to cite what Churchill said when the forces, American and British forces, landed on the land of France on the D-Day. The soldiers were very joyous. They were making fun, enjoying that they have landed and they have defeated German forces, and they have landed on France. And so very soon they will be close to Germany, and they will conquer Germany. Churchill said that, gentlemen, this is not the end. This is not even the end, beginning of the end. This is just the end of the beginning. So if you go out of a university with a degree, with PhD degree or MTech degree, that should not be the end of our education. It should be taken as the beginning of education. And unless we try to read, unless we try to acquire new knowledge, unless we try to refresh ourselves, we cannot teach our students effectively. And in order to support this statement of mine, I would like to recite what our ancestors have said. Adhyapanam Brahmayagya Pitriyagyastu Tarpanam Homo Devo Balirбhuto Nriyagyo Atit Pujanam. We all participate in 5 different types of Mahayag. Adhyapan is one of them. Pitriyagya, Tarpan or Havan, the Pinddan is another yag. Havan is third yag, in which we offer something in the Havan Kund to gods. We also please evil spirits by sacrificing something. Earlier it was animal, now it is a make-believe animal, maybe fruit or something similar.
Without giving more, you can say, description of Professor Ramesh Gautam, I request you that kindly please come on the topic and let us start delivery on the topic that has been a part of our discussion today. So, Professor Ramesh Gautam, please.
Thank you, Dr. Lal. I'm
yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. This pandemic time, we all have suffered a lot. We all have seen a very bad kind of time. But in this bad time also, since we all are innovative, we have invented something. If we can't have physical classes in the colleges, if we can't have physical hearing in the courts, we have found out a way. We have found out a way that it can be virtual. It can be online classes. It can be virtual hearing. This is really a very bad time. But in this bad time also, if we look at the good aspect of it, we have not suffered on account of education, on account of justice, on account of any other thing. We have not suffered because we have found out a way to deal with the things. Maybe this is not very effective. And if you ask my opinion, online classes or virtual hearing by courts in our cases, I'm not very happy with that. But there is no alternative. There was no choice. The limited option was that we have to go to the virtual hearing. We have to go to the online classes. This was the only choice left to us. Hello. If we talk about the current topic, all sectors worldwide, including education, have been affected by the impact of COVID-19. As we approach the new normal post of COVID-19, there is a need to consider education anew in the light of the emerging opportunities and challenges. For the last decade, higher education has faced considerable headwinds. COVID has affected it more and has created severe short-term financial and operational challenges, as I just now discussed in the beginning, for higher education institutions, and accelerated impact of external demographic, financial, technological, and political trends on the higher education sector. Higher education leaders remain steadfast in their commitment to their organization core mission, even in the face of these severe challenges. However, there is a time for higher educational institutions to reconsider their value propositions and operating models if they are committed to successfully and sustainably delivering their mission in the years to come. In these uncertain times, discerning what is next for the higher education sector will likely to require calculated speculation and some risk-taking. The implications of the continuing crisis to the 4 elements of curriculum: goal, content, approach, and evaluation need to be addressed. COVID-19 was first experienced in Wuhan, China in late December 2019. At a highlight of COVID-19 timeline shows that January 13, 2020, the first coronavirus infection outside China was reported. February 2, 2020, the first coronavirus mortality outside China was recorded. March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization announced the outbreak of pandemic spreading to different countries. April 10, 2020, the global death toll surpassed 100,000. May 11, 2020, countries like Spain, New Zealand, Thailand, Iran began to see their quarantine restrictions, and after a decrease. Furthermore, many educational systems are contemplating responsive approaches to implement the curriculum. Most of them are looking into the role of technology. During an area of social distancing, practice demonstrating a major new normal behavior, many schools are headed towards complete online modality or blended learning modality in instructions. The complete online modality of the institution approach during the post-COVID-19 era can be feasible. For example, in China, there was a first epicenter of the virus. More than 180 million children were ordered to remain at home. But while schools were closed for quarantine, education had to continue, but this time in an altered modality. This was implemented online through a variety of online courses and electronic textbooks. This sort of blended education is slowly becoming the normal. We have to adopt this new system of education because at present there is no choice. Although my childhood dreams were two. One was to become a teacher and another was to become a lawyer. I have become both. But I have a feeling that while we teach or while we argue in the courts, the impact of the eye contact, which Professor Upadhyay also mentioned, that the impact of that eye contact is more important. If there is no eye contact, there is no impact. It can be between the teacher and student, it can be between the judges and lawyer, it can be between the trader and customers. The importance of eye contact is something which leaves an impact on you.
In this panel discussion, and I hope that you will be sharing your experiential integrated talk on the topic sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post COVID-19. So over to Dr. Ashish Datta sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. Since morning, I am listening the webinar sincerely, and I have gathered knowledge also from different speakers. Somebody has given stress on the methodology of teaching. Somebody has given stress on the technology of the teaching. Somebody has given stress more on the teaching philosophy. But I will restrict myself, particularly sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post-COVID-19. First of all, I extend my sincere thanks to the authorities of Jyoti Vidyapith Women's University, Advisor Dr. Pankaj Garg, Chairperson Honorable Professor Vidushi Garg, for organizing today's webinar, for which we are waiting, which is the need of the day. I am grateful to the authorities of the university for giving me a chance, an opportunity to talk on such topic. To talk on such important topic, it is necessary to point out the situation briefly, the pre-stage of new normal also. Time allotted as per the notification to me is 10 minutes. I will keep it in mind. and try to restrict myself, particularly on the topic.
Request our next Professor Emeritus, and he is Professor S.S. Sarmaji. Sir, are you getting me?
Yes, I am present.
Yes, sir. Please, yes, sir. Yes. Please start your presentation. I welcome on behalf of the whole fraternity of the university, and Professor Raghav sir is the pro-president of the university. So please start your presentation.
यत् प्रभापटलोद भासी भासते अद्यापि भारतम आयुर्वेदात्मकम ज्योति शाश्वतम न प्रकाशताम। आयुर्वेद के बारे में मैं आयुर्वेद का एक छात्र हूँ और जो अभी तक भी पढ़ता हूँ, प्रोफेसर से रिटायर हुआ हूँ नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा से। हिताहितम सुखम दुखम आयुष तस्य हिताहितम मानम च तच्च यत्रोक्तम आयुर्वेद से उच्यते। आयुर्वेद किसको कहते हैं? जिसमें हित आयु, अहित आयु, सुख आयु, दुख आयु, जीने की कला जो सिखाता है उसको कहते हैं आयुर्वेद। हम स्वस्थ कैसे रहें, प्राइमरी हेल्थ के जरिए कैसे स्वस्थ रह सकते हैं, नियमों का पालन करते हुए कैसे अपना जीवन यापन करते हैं। आयुर्वेद की परिभाषा है कि स्वस्थस्य स्वास्थ्य रक्षणम आतुरस्य विकार प्रशमनम च। जो स्वस्थ व्यक्ति है वो स्वस्थ कैसे रहे, प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर, और ये रोगी हो जाए तो उसका इलाज क्या करे। ये दोनों सिद्धांत जो है वो आयुर्वेद की चिकित्सा के अंतर्गत कहे गए हैं। अब कोरोना इस समय जो देश के अंदर आया हुआ है, देश में क्या पूरे संसार में फैला हुआ है, जिसके कारण से सारी संस्थाएं बंद हो गई हैं और ऑनलाइन जो पढ़ाई का क्रम जो चल रहा है उसके बारे में आज कुछ लेक्चर्स के आपको बताने का है। कोरोना एक जो है महाव्याधि है। पुराने जमाने में जनपदोध्वंस नाम से एक व्याधि होती थी। व्याधि क्या? जनपदोध्वंस उसको कहते हैं जहां जनपद जो आदमी रहते हैं या गांव है, शहर है, वो सारे उजड़ जाते थे। उस जमाने में प्लेग होता था, हैजा होता था और बहुत सारी बीमारियां, आपदाएं होती थी। बरसात नहीं होने से भूखे मर जाते थे लोग, बाढ़ आने से मर जाते थे। इस प्रकार उसको कहते थे जनपदोध्वंस। इसलिए कोरोना व्याधि के अंदर भी जनपदोध्वंस की बीमारी जो है वो हो गई है। उसका जो है कोई चिकित्सा अभी तक उपलब्ध नहीं हुई है। प्राथमिक चिकित्सा के रूप में एलोपैथिक में, आयुर्वेदिक में, अन्य पैथियों में करते हैं। आयुर्वेद की कुछ चिकित्सा पद्धतियां इसके अंदर बहुत सहायक रूप में काम करने लगी हैं। इसके लिए जब तक कोई टीका, इंजेक्शन नहीं आ जाता है, वैक्सीन नहीं आ जाती है, तब तक मास्क और 2 गज की दूरी इसको तो हमें निरंतर बनाए रखना है। ये सर्वप्रथम सिद्धांत है। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी बार बार इस चीज को कहते हैं कि इस चीज को ध्यान में रखें, जिससे कि सोशल डिस्टेंस रखें तो वो हो सकता है। पुराने जमाने में अध्ययन की प्रक्रिया जो यहाँ चल रहा है, आपकी जो विद्यापीठ जो है, हमारे धन्वंतरी भगवान हुए हैं। धन्वंतरी भगवान ने जो है ज्ञान जो दक्ष प्रजापति को दिया, दक्ष प्रजापति ने इंद्र को दिया, इंद्र ने जो है वो अपने जो शिष्य थे, परंपरा थे, एक परंपरा होती थी प्राचीन समय में ऋषियों की, सुश्रुत ऋषि प्रभृतिया औवधनम औरभ्र पौष्कलावत कर वीर्य गोपुर रक्षित प्रभृतिया। ये जो 6 प्रकार के मुख्य जो शिष्य थे, जो धन्वंतरी संप्रदाय के अंदर, पुराने जमाने में 2 संप्रदाय विशेष रूप थे। जैसे आजकल मेडिकल डॉक्टर और सर्जन होते हैं, उसी प्रकार से पुराने जमाने में भी धन्वंतरी संप्रदाय होता था और आत्रेय संप्रदाय होता था। आत्रेय संप्रदाय चिकित्सा करते थे और धन्वंतरी संप्रदाय सर्जिकल प्रोसीजर्स को करते थे। इस प्रकार से अध्ययन की प्रक्रिया चलती थी। विश्वामित्र सुतः श्रीमान सुश्रुतः परिपृच्छति। सबने निर्णय किया कि हमारे 6 में से जो मुख्य है सुश्रुत, वो भगवान धन्वंतरी से प्रश्न करेंगे और प्रश्न करने के बाद में जनहित में क्या प्रश्न करेंगे और उसका जवाब जब भगवान धन्वंतरी देंगे। इस तरह से ये आयुर्वेद का जो चिकित्सा ग्रंथ है उसका निर्माण हुआ। शल्य का विशेष रूप से ग्रंथ सुश्रुत संहिता हुआ, मेडिसिन का जो है वो चरक संहिता हुआ, और उसके बाद में दोनों के कुछ मिलाते हुए भागवत जो है अष्टांग हृदय का निर्माण हुआ। इस प्रकार से आयुर्वेद की चिकित्सा पद्धति का एक जो है अध्ययन हुआ। अब टीचिंग के अंदर यूजी चलता है और पीजी चलता है, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन चलता है। तो यूजी के जो छात्र हैं वो अध्ययन में केवल ज्यादातर उनका जो समय रहता है वो अध्ययन प्रैक्टिकल नहीं होकर के जो है वो जो है किताबों में ज्यादा पढ़ाया जाता है उनको, और प्रैक्टिकल देखने को मिलता है, करने को नहीं मिलता है उनको प्राय करके। लेकिन कुछ प्रक्रिया ऐसी है आयुर्वेद में जिनको हम कर सकते हैं, जैसे क्षार चिकित्सा, ज्वरों का बचाने की चिकित्सा, अग्निकर्म चिकित्सा, इनका प्रयोग भी हम कर सकते हैं और इनका प्रयोग छात्रों को प्रैक्टिकल रूप में भी दिखाई दे सकते हैं। इसलिए यूजी के छात्रों का पाठ्यक्रम का अलग से हो और पीजी के छात्रों का पाठ्यक्रम अलग से हो, क्योंकि पीजी वाले छात्रों को तो प्रैक्टिकल रूप में करना है और आगे उनको प्रोफेसर, लेक्चरर सब बनना है।
Second thing, your communication. You should be good in communication. This is the mantra to win in everywhere when you go in the interview, or if you want to get a professional success, a good professional if you want to be, then you have to have the second communication. First, आपको your dress smartly dressed. You must one formula. You must look 10 years younger. If not 10 years younger, 5 years younger than your age. That is the how are you maintaining your body. This is one thing. Communication second. If you speak in English, speak in good English. Don't speak in Bengali accent. Don't speak in Punjabi accent. Don't speak in Tamil accent. Speak in the English accent. Secondly, communication. Communication includes written and oral. Both you should be good. And last but not least, you cannot have success in life without knowledge. You must have knowledge. And that's what I told you, Urdu share. You should not hesitate to learn from anywhere. अगर एक बहुत पुरानी पिक्चर आई थी जानी वॉकर की, वो कहता था मैंने मोची के नीचे भी काम किया है, मैंने कॉबलर के नीचे भी काम किया है, मैंने दर्जी के नीचे भी काम किया है. Remember one thing, very good thing in armed forces of training, officer training is that you must know all the jobs what your soldier knows. Then only you can command. This formula holds good, bete. If you have to command, you should know all the things. You should know अगर कॉबलर का काम ठीक किया कि नहीं, अगर दर्जी ने काम ठीक किया कि नहीं, उसका काम तुम्हें आना चाहिए. तो दिस बात मैंने बचपन में सीखा. मैं अकेला बच्चा था, तो मेरी मदर चाहती भाई वकील बन लो, एडवोकेट बन गए. उनका साइंटिस्ट बन जाओ, साइंटिस्ट बन गए. मिलिट्री अफसर बनना था, मिलिट्री अफसर बन गए. कोई रिलेशन नहीं है. कहाँ केमिकल टेक्नोलॉजी, कहाँ मिलिट्री एयरफोर्स का विंग कमांडर, कोई नहीं है. पर क्या है कि ये इतना एक्सपोजर देता है. अब मैं कहीं भी बैठता हूँ तो मुझे शाई नहीं फील होता, पर मैंने कभी शर्मिंदगी मत करो सीखने के लिए. दिस इज सक्सेस. एंड लास्ट, so these are three things, and the success mantra is you must dream in your life. जब तक आप स्वप्न नहीं देखोगे, जब तक अगर आपको बेटे माउंट एवरेस्ट की छूने का उद्देश्य बनाओगे तो कंचनजुंगा तभी पहुंचोगे. You have your aims high, have the dreams, but don't only dream. You know what a dream is? Dr. APJ Kalam said very nicely. I had made very good presentation on this and wanted to show you. Anyhow, thank you very much, Dr. Sir. You gave me chance to talk to my student, to whom I call children. So he told that dream are those which don't allow you to sleep. So, and the last but not least, the another success equation which has been developed by Einstein. Einstein told there is a success equal to x plus y plus z. That is, you must dream, you work hard until as you implement your dream and take the rest. Rest doesn't mean that go and sleep. He says you give the successive gaps, gain the potential energy, convert into the kinetic energy. This is the physical instrument. And last but not least, always if you want to create, respect the environment, respect the God which has given you. You see, God gave you the air, water, beautiful nature, and we people polluted like anything. क्योंकि उसने एक ही गलती की थी कि he gave free of cost and time also. So this is my principle, and I.
Thank you, Professor Goswami sir. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
That's a
yeah, thank you, Lord Goswami sir. Time is not permitting us to.
You keep the amount of time if you want to become successful in your life. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Please.
I want to talk
now this is the time for our respected Pro-President of the University, Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor P.K. Raghav sir. that kindly conclude today's conference, that is experiential integrated talk on sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post COVID-19. And also,
yes, in today's experiential integrated talk on sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post COVID-19, several experienced delegates, participants, they spoke in detail and shared the views, and it was a marathon session. And in this conference, several points came up as far as this topic is concerned. And the list is long, but I am just, going to tell you few of them. First was the LMS, Learning Management System, then utilization of resources, then blended learning. Several speakers talk about the blended learning. Then there was the mentorship. People talk about the innovation. Then there was the time management talk. There was the health. The first speaker, Professor Lee Shekhar, he talked about the health. And then there was, other several solutions came. But what I think that no one talked about the challenges much. So that was something which was supposed to be discussed in detail. The challenges in sustaining the quality of higher education in new normal. A new normal is a normal when we are coming out of this COVID-19 and we are looking forward how to maintain the quality in this higher education when the resources, we have to mobilize various resources, when there are various foundations, and sometimes we are hearing the cases are coming more, they are becoming less, either COVID is going, when it will go, the vaccine will come. So that was it. This three-dimensional topic was chosen and it was discussed. So as far as these points which I just elaborated came out as, from this talk, Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University Jaipur, which is the nation's first private state women's university, which has a 12B status out of 346 universities. Only 12 universities have this 12B status and we are one of them. And the university is having most of these things. We are having learning management system in place, as I told before. As far as the utilization of resources, Professor Anil Agarwal, Emeritus Professor Anil Agarwal spoke about this. Yes, we have alumni association. Our alumni participate. They do contribute intellectually as well as by other meaning. And we have this blended learning in place. We have face-to-face learning in place. We are not lagging behind in anything. Our session started on time. Professor Lal also, my counterpart, Professor Lal Proctor of the university, he nicely threw light on several of our achievements. So if I am going in that side, it may take more than 1 or 2 hours to discussing those things in detail. And let me tell you one more thing. In our university, Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, we have a unique teaching learning methodology, learnership, identification, and mentorship. And then, as far as our research, which is the a main indicator of the success of a university, we have a very well researched infrastructure here, which can be found out on jbexplore.in. And recently we launched Research for You, where we are inviting the industries to put their problems in front of us. Those will be taken up by us and we'll be solving them. Another thing, we have local research also here, means work for local. And we started this thing well ahead of time last year itself, before it was announced by the PMO. And we have the integrated research going on here. So there are long list of discussing the things. Need-based research is being done. Patents are being registered. Patents are being published. Projects are being granted. And our sessions are going on time. Examination to sir, let me just yes.
I would like to listen by your mouth that Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University is one of the most and more Atmanirbhar University. There is no outsourcing of any resources here at all. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah. and that's what I was saying. So, and our digital version 2, the learning management system, which we created just in the beginning of this pandemic, when everyone was running here and there, we were all set to, launch our classes and, teaching the students through, online and digital, and examination were conducting. That's what I was talking about. And all, this is keeping us in a good shape. And one more thing which I would like to tell here is that the digital version 2 can be used by any institution, any university which are having the same type of program. If they are running the same program, yes, we can give access to our material to them also. So that's how we are sustaining equality in higher education. But I talk to other people, I talk to a lot of other experts, a lot of other dignitaries, and in this conference also several experts, our emeritus professor also, they discuss this thing that not all the institutions and university are able to come up. So what are those challenges? I spoke in a webinar in the beginning of this COVID-19. At the beginning of the pandemic, and I told very clearly there are challenges of training the teacher, challenges of training the students. And in that seminar, in that webinar, I clearly told this thing that yes, we were having an edge at that time, and I am repeating it again and again because let me be very clear. When these tasks we were giving to our faculty members, when these tasks we were giving to our students, we were telling them go get your lecture get your lecture recorded, get a video recorded, make digital notes. They were saying why we should do it? What is the need of it? And you never know. So we did at that time, and that was our backbone since just in the beginning of this pandemic, and that's how we lifted up ourselves, and we are in a good shape today. So that is something about our university, which is playing a leading role in this sustaining the quality, and we want to just disseminate this knowledge to others and to other institutions and to other universities. So on that basis, this today's experiential integrated talk and a virtual conference was organized. So that was all, and now is the time to say thank you. And first of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Chairperson, Madam Vidushi Gargji, our Honorable Founder and Advisor Visionary, Dr. Pankaj Garg sir, and today's Chief Guest, Secretary General AIU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, and Professor Emeritus, Professor Shekhar V, Coopersburg, USA, Professor Paul R. Prabhakar, Chicago, USA, Professor Manjeet S. Khan, Kansas State, USA, Professor Manu K. Vora, Chicago, USA, and our own President, Professor R. Hayati Dahiya, and then our moderator and our proctor of the university, Professor S. Lal, Professor Emeritus, Professor Meenakshi Mathur, then Professor Emeritus, Professor S. M. Upadhyay, former Director, IIT BHU India, then Professor S. M. Singh, UP India, then Professor Anil Kumar Agarwal, IIT BHU India. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. And then Pro-President Ayush, Jayoti Vidyapith University, Vaidya Kamlesh Kumar Sharma ji, then Professor Emeritus, Professor O.P. Sharma, Professor Emeritus, Professor Rajyavardhan, who could not join us, but might be, he would be watching this, heard, will hear. And then Professor Emeritus, Professor Virender Goswami, IIT Kharagpur, who is with us till the end. Thank you very much. And then Professor Emeritus, Professor S.S. Sharma, and then Adjunct Professor, Professor Ramesh Gautam, New Delhi, and then Professor Emeritus of Jyoti Vidyapith, or you all are of Jyoti Vidyapith, Professor R.K. Patni. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the students who were with us. More than 100 participants participated in this today's experiential integrated talk on sustainability of quality in higher education in new normal post-COVID-19. And a big thank you to Professor S. Lal, Proctor, Jayoti Vidyapith University, Jaipur, who day and night worked for connecting all those people together. And my counterpart, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being with us.
To our Pro-President, Dynamic Pro-President, Professor Raghav, for extending his kind support and working for it, you can say day and night to make this conference success, coordinating with dignitaries across the globe. And thanks is due from my side because the technical person, our server people, Mr. Ravi and his team, and the faculty members of computer science who coordinated with us to reach this webinar across the globe through the different social media channels. Also thanks to our Jyoti Bani 90.4 and its team. Thanks to our Khabar.com editor Mr. Jha and his team. And thanks to our JBTV team who are working over this. Thanks a lot from my side. And thanks again. Thanks a lot.